Before Jake Sully became Toruk Makto, before the Na'vi united against the Sky People, one human made a choice that changed everything. Captain Trudy Chacón, RDA pilot, defector, total badass. As we head into Avatar Fire and Ash, here's everything you need to know about the woman who proved that not all humans were enemies of Pandora. Early life and military career. Trudy Chacón's backstory isn't laid out in Avatar 2009, but official sources and extended lore fill in the gaps. She was a former Marine with significant flight experience before the RDA recruited her, and by the time Jake Sully arrived on Pandora in May 2154, Trudy had already been working for the Resources Development Administration for several years. But Trudy never fit the mold of a typical SecOps grunt. According to the official Pandorapedia, she tended to get along better with scientists on the Avatar program than with the military types. That's important. It tells you where her loyalties were leaning long before the film's events forced her to choose a side. And to choose our side, leave a like. Her aircraft was the SA-2 Samson, call sign Samson-16. Later, she'd nickname it Maya. Sometimes, she just called it Baby. The Samson tops out at 144 knots and is built for speed and versatility. Trudy flew it like an extension of her own body. Arrival on Pandora and early service. Trudy's home away from home was Hell's Gate, a fortress of concrete, pollution, and paranoia sitting in the middle of Pandora's rainforest. Population, 2,500. Her job there was simple: fly the science team wherever they needed to go. Dr. Grace Augustine ran the Avatar program. Trudy was her pilot. Grace had zero patience for jarhead militarism, but she trusted Trudy, which says a lot. Trudy called Grace ma'am with a light, almost affectionate tone. The two of them shared a mutual respect, which would become critical later. In Avatar 2009, Trudy's first major scene is the initial forest sortie. Grace, Norm, and Jake's avatars get to work, and then everything goes sideways. Jake gets chased by a Thanator and disappears into the forest. Trudy stays behind with SecOps gunner Wainfleet, searching for Jake until nightfall, when Colonel Quaritch orders her to withdraw. It's too dangerous. This moment tells you who Trudy is. She's not just following orders. She cares about the people she flies for. When Jake finally turns up the next day, safe with the Omaticaya clan, Trudy fist bumps him. "You know I got your back," she says. It's a small moment, but it matters. See, here's what most people don't realize. Trudy was already in a moral gray zone. Like Jake, she was technically working for Quaritch, but her sympathies were with Grace and the science team. In a deleted scene that didn't make the theatrical cut, Trudy and Jake are at Site 26, the remote link station in the Hallelujah Mountains. They're preparing a data upload for Hell's Gate. Trudy tells Jake, "We don't give him something. He's gonna shut us down. We're buying time." She knows the RDA's agenda is escalating, and she's complicit in Grace's strategy to stall them by feeding Quaritch minimal intel. Trudy is already walking a tightrope. The assault on Home Tree. Trudy's simmering doubts about the RDA boil over during the assault on the Omaticaya Home Tree. Colonel Quaritch launches a full-scale military strike on Home Tree in August 2154. The plan? Fire gas grenades to force the Na'vi out, then bring the whole structure down with missiles. Trudy is piloting one of the gunships in the assault formation. Up until now, she's obeyed orders, despite her doubts. But as she hovers before the enormous tree, watching the Na'vi desperately defend their ancestral home, she hesitates. Trudy peels away. "I didn't sign up for this," she shouts over the comm, breaking formation. Her door gunner, Lyle Wainfleet, is furious, but Trudy doesn't care. In this moment, Trudy Chacón becomes the only RDA soldier to defect outright during the assault on Home Tree. Massacring civilians is a line she will not cross. And from this point forward, she's no longer fighting for the RDA. She's fighting against them. Is Trudy the most badass human on Pandora? Let us know what you think. The escape and the resistance. After Home Tree falls, Jake, Norm, and Grace are detained at Hell's Gate for treason. Quaritch plans to shut down the Avatar program permanently. Using her access as a SecOps officer, Trudy bluffs her way past a guard by pretending to deliver meals, then quickly incapacitates him. An extended scene shows her manipulating and threatening the guard before knocking him unconscious. With help from Dr. Max Patel, another scientist sympathetic to the Na'vi cause, Trudy frees Jake, Norm, and Grace from their holding cell. They dash to the hangar where Samson-16 is waiting and take off under fire from Quaritch. Grace is badly wounded. They head to Site 26 before airlifting the Mobile Link trailer to the Sacred Tree of Souls area. This enables Jake and Norm to continue operating their avatars remotely. Without Trudy, the final act of Avatar wouldn't happen. Trudy is now a traitor in the eyes of her former comrades, yet she shows no hesitation. When they reach a safe distance, Jake looks at her and says, "You're one of us now." Trudy nods. She's all in. Symbolism: Tiger versus Dragon. Before the final battle, Trudy rebrands her aircraft, painting blue and white stripes across the hull and fuselage with the help of Amatakaya warriors. She renames the gunship Rogue One. No longer part of the RDA fleet, the aircraft is now a rebel craft fighting for the Na'vi. On the nose, there's a painting of a Bengal tiger. This imagery is deliberate. In ancient Chinese philosophy, the tiger and the dragon represent yin and yang. The dragon signifies heaven, the sky, offensive power. Colonel Quaritch's personal gunship, the C-21 Dragon assault ship, is emblazoned with a painting of a dragon. The tiger, by contrast, represents the earth. Trudy's tiger symbolizes her allegiance to Pandora's ecosystem, to the living world she's chosen to defend. But here's the kicker. By the year 2154, the Bengal tiger is extinct, courtesy of man-made environmental catastrophe. Trudy is aligning herself with Pandora's rainforest, defending it from suffering the same fate as Earth's did. And if you're enjoying this Avatar deep dive, don't forget to hit subscribe for more. The Battle of the Tree of Souls. August 23rd, 2154. The Battle of Irama Losing. The Assault on the Tree of Souls. Jake Sully, now Toruk Makto, has united 15 Na'vi clans to defend the sacred site. Trudy Chacón is the only human fighting on the Na'vi side. Jake and Norm are there too, but they're in avatar bodies. If their avatars die, they can exit the link. They have 2 lives, and Trudy has only 1. In a deleted scene the night before the battle, Trudy uses Rogue One to train the Na'vi warriors on how to bring down RDA aircraft, teaching them the weak points of Scorpion gunships and the massive bomber shuttle. It's valuable intel. The Na'vi have Ikran and bows. Trudy gives them tactics. She also has a conversation with Jake. "I'm going up against gunships with bows and arrows," she says, half joking, half terrified. "Well, we're on the right side, right?" Jake responds. Trudy nods. She knows the odds are hopeless, but she's fighting anyway. The battle begins. Trudy pilots Rogue One into combat among swarms of Na'vi Ikran riders. Her mission? Distract Colonel Quaritch's Dragon gunship so Jake, riding the great Leonopteryx Toruk, can attack the bomber shuttle unimpeded. Trudy dives into the fray, guns blazing. "You're not the only one with a gun, bitch," she says over the radio, strafing Quaritch's aircraft in a daring assault run. She inflicts minor damage on the Dragon's escorts, a few impacts on the Dragon itself, but she is heavily outgunned. The Dragon's gunners shoot back. An explosion tears through one of Rogue One's twin-rotor engines. The Samson reels, one rotor blown out, and begins an uncontrollable spin. Asymmetric lift kicks in, just as Trudy warned the Na'vi would happen to enemy craft. Now her own ship is crippled by the same vulnerability. Trudy draws on all of her skill and experience, but the damage is too great. Rogue One is going down. In her final moments, fully aware that a crash is inevitable, Trudy whispers, "I'm sorry, Jake," over comms. Moments later, Quaritch mercilessly fires a missile at the crippled Samson. Trudy's gunship erupts in a fireball. She dies instantly. A hero's death. A self-chosen martyrdom for the Na'vi cause. Where would Trudy be now if she'd survived the Battle of the Tree of Souls? We'd love to hear your theories. The Deleted Romance with Norm Spellman. Now let's talk about the subplot that was completely ripped out of the final edit of Avatar. Trudy Chacón and Dr. Norm Spellman had a full-on romantic relationship during the events of the first film. This isn't speculation, it's canon. The World of Avatar, a visual exploration, published in 2022, explicitly confirmed that Norm and Trudy became a couple while stationed at Site 26. Multiple deleted scenes shot by James Cameron show this romance developing on screen. In one deleted scene, Trudy gives Norm a brief flying lesson, showing him how sensitively the Samson responds to turbulence. She tells him to put his hand on the cyclic stick so he can feel it. Their hands touch. The camera lingers. It's a quiet, charged moment. In another deleted scene, during the montage of Jake training with the Amatakaya, Jake exits his link and accidentally stumbles upon Norm and Trudy in a compromising position in bed. Cameron cut the scene for runtime, and the theatrical version of Avatar only hints at this relationship. Jake comments, "Norm's attitude has improved lately," with a sly tone. That's the only reference that survived. Why does this matter? Because it adds massive emotional weight to the last half of the film. When Trudy dies in the Battle of the Hallelujah Mountains, she's not just Jake's ally or Grace's pilot. She's Norm's girlfriend. In the original script, Trudy's last words weren't, "I'm sorry, Jake." They were, "Norm, I love you." Trudy's death hits Norm on a deeply personal level. When his avatar is killed by Lyle Wainfleet around the same time, Norm exits the link and clutches his chest. He's experiencing the neural feedback of his avatar dying, yes, but knowing the deleted romance, that moment of him grabbing his heart takes on a double meaning. He's lost Trudy, too. Joel David Moore, who played Norm, said in a 2023 interview that he was actually relieved the romance subplot was trimmed. He felt the Trudy-Norm relationship, while wonderful and precious, wasn't essential to the main plot. Maybe he's right, but it does enrich Trudy's character. It humanizes her, and it makes her final sacrifice even more impactful. Trudy's legacy. Trudy's fierce attack distracts Quaritch at a critical moment, giving Jake an opportunity to cripple a bomber and prevent the destruction of the Tree of Souls. Pandora's victory hinges, in part, on her intervention. For the characters, Trudy's loss is deeply felt. According to Avatar: The Gap Year Tipping Point, a 2025 comic series, Norm eventually falls in love with a Na'vi woman from the Olangi clan. He has children, he builds a life. But Trudy was his first love, lost in war. Her memory endures. James Cameron himself said years later that he regretted killing Trudy off so early in the franchise, speaking of her amazing integrity in interviews. Michelle Rodriguez, who portrayed Trudy, firmly declined Cameron's half-serious suggestion to bring her back in a sequel. That would be overkill. I died a martyr. She felt it would cheapen Trudy's sacrifice to undo it. And she was right. Trudy Chacón represents something Avatar desperately needed, proof that humans can choose the right side. She never experiences Sahelu or any mystical revelations. Her choice to defect is purely driven by human morality and conscience. In a story about colonialism, exploitation, and environmental destruction, Trudy is the human who refused to sign up for this. As we head into Avatar: Fire and Ash, Trudy's legacy remains. Jake Sully's resistance, the human-Na'vi alliance, the idea that the Sky People aren't all enemies. Trudy laid that groundwork. She fought beside the Na'vi and died defending their world. If Fire and Ash explores the cost of resistance, the price of standing up to overwhelming force, Trudy Chacón is the blueprint. Thanks for watching. More deep dives into the world of Avatar are on the way. Hit subscribe so you don't miss out.